I'm really curious. We mentioned this before at the start of the podcast. I'm really curious to talk about the fact you mentioned people sort of putting their body at risk, health-wise, using drugs and things like that, which is super common these days for people in this industry who want to make money, because they think, fuck, if I'm just shredded as fuck online, people will buy my program.
Yeah.
When I came across you and came across your content and everything, there was a lot to take in, and I was watching all the videos and stuff like that. But one of the biggest overbearing things and being around people, especially in the powerlifting community, is straight away 305 kilo bench press naturally. That's fucking bullshit. Straight away, right? It's because it doesn't sound right in your head. You're like, no one's done that.
Yeah.
And the other day, me and Jack, who I mentioned before, we were watching the IPF, and we did a sort of a video on it, and we talked about the fact that the drug tested world record in IPF is 291 kilos. And so then even that kind of came into it yourself, because then you think to yourself, hey, well, why doesn't Josh just break the fucking world record?
So I think the actual natural world record out of IPF is 305 kilo in comp. And then additionally to that, I suppose it's a really, let's cover it as an umbrella. So when I first started training, when I was 22, I only got into the gym to lose weight, never to build muscle or to do anything like that. In fact, the funniest thing about, I suppose, my outlook on the gym was when I was like 19, 20, 21, I thought everyone that went to the gym was a dickhead. Like, genuinely, I did. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I thought like, oh, look at those fucking, look at me, like fucking string vest posers. Just, I thought like most of them were just egotistical pricks, and I had a really bad outlook on gym as a culture and people that went there. But I was overweight at the time, super overweight. I was 22. I'd gone from like a chubby phase to a really skinny phase to a chubby phase to a really skinny phase back to a chubby phase. And I think that's one thing about me is I'm very good at gaining. I'm also very good at losing. I can strip weight really fast. I can gain weight really fast. And the problem is that when I start doing one of them, I do it really well. Sadly, I'm really good at gaining weight too. I wish I wasn't. I wish I was just really good at stripping it. But when I was 22, I was holding a lot of excess weight. Now, I had a younger brother, Jordan. He's 2 years younger than me. And when Jordan was 17 and I was 19, he was benching 180 kilo in the gym at 17. He was doing 180 on flat, 170 on incline. He was a strong kid. And not only that, but he had incredible shape. So he didn't have no, super heavy additional mass to him. He was lean, and he had an incredible V. He was super cut. And for 17, I was like, what the fuck? But either way, I still didn't kind of feed off that as a gene or genetic thing. I just thought, that's not for me. So I started hitting the gym at 22 to just lose weight. I was doing fasted cardio every morning. 6 a.m. I'd get up. I'd wrap my whole torso in like 2 layers of cling film. And then I'd put like 2 t-shirts, 2 hoodies on. I'd put the cling film on just for added insulation to make me sweat more. And then I'd put like 2 pairs of shorts on and a pair of joggers, and I'd hit the gym. And I'd do like a 40 to 45 minute incline walk fasted, and just watch like a Netflix episode. And I did that for like 3 months. And I think I cut like 3.5 stone pretty quickly. Like I was losing weight really fast. Obviously a lot of it was excess weight, so it was going to drop off faster because I was also really inactive. So just even doing anything at all was really good for me to lose weight. And then my little brother was like, you know what? Just come and do a weight session one time, just one day. Like, I know you're not into it, and I was like, oh, come on. But he'd walked in just as I was finishing cardio, and I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll give it half hour. So we went over and got on a bench press. And the first ever day in the gym, I benched like 105 kilo. And he was like, and I was like, I didn't even have the, a concept of what weight was or what was strong and what isn't strong, vice versa. But he was like, that's strong. And I was like, okay, but it still doesn't mean nothing to me. And he was like, no, like, you don't get it. Like, you've never benched before, and you're lying down and you're benching 105 kilo. I just put it down to, well, obviously I'm a big guy, and I was holding a lot of excess weight. So I'd say it was just, some form of my mass being able to move that mass. And he was like, just come for one session next week or come for this. And slowly but surely, I kind of fed into it a little, and I was like, fine, I'll come and do a session, and et cetera, et cetera. And then, before I knew it, I was like, this is quite fun. And I was up to like a free plate, like 140 kilo bench within probably 3-4 months. So it was really quick how I was moving. So fast forward to where I am now. Obviously, started posting all my stuff on TikTok. That's where it really took off. especially stuff like the clapping bench press, because people are like, what in the world is that? But, you know, or the one arm on the incline where I do like, you know, 225 or 265, 275. And people are like, what in the world? But obviously the big one is the 305 kilo bench, and people truly cannot fathom the idea that that could be done naturally. And I get it. I've also said myself, if I was someone looking at me from the outside, I would say he's not natural. So I don't have an ill will or an ill feeling toward anyone that disputes my natural status, because I would too. And I get it. But it's quite funny. If you know me, you'd know just how, I suppose, ignorant I am to all of it. I don't even know about steroids. I wish I did, like, genuinely, because it probably would have helped me jumping on them from a much younger age and progressing the right, you know, a certain way. But then at the same time, it's probably very good that I've pushed my natural limitations to where I have. But I don't even know about steroids. I don't know about them. I'm so ignorant toward that stuff that I don't bother reading it, because I get confused too quickly in terms of all what it is, the different types of everything, dosages, etc., etc. So on Friday, I had a little message from a guy called Transform Now, who's Dr. Imran Khan. He's one of the biggest blood panel, drug specialists in the UK. He works with a lot of big influencers, big names, celebrities alike, you name it. And he does all of their health work and blood work, etc., etc. So we did a post on Friday on his IG, bearing in mind that he's obviously got a very, very big and diverse following of all different types of creators. And when he did the post, he said, 305 kilo bench, all natural. And the immediate messages he got were, don't be stupid, that guy's not natural. And he said, don't worry, I'm going to prove it. Well, I got my bloods back last night. So we got my blood panel work back last night. And not only am I natural, my testosterone is lower than average. So I'm actually performing at a 305 kilo bench with lower than average test, which is even funnier. Also, my vitamin D is classed as insufficient. My vitamin D is extremely low. We think it's something to do with the fact that I'm so big, so it's just really hard for me to get the correct, to just supplement that vitamin D in the right way. I also hate the sun. I stay out of the sun as much as I possibly can, because I'm extremely pale and too white for it. So my vitamin D is super low, and therefore my recovery is even worse. And not only that, but low vitamin D is also something that will naturally lower testosterone. And then he said something about LH and FSH levels. I think that's what they're called, but they're the kind of things that are spiked a certain way if you've just come off cycle. And he said, you can see clearly in my bloods that I haven't just come off a cycle, and I am genuinely low testosterone and I'm natural. Now, obviously you could say, well, maybe you used in the past or blah, blah, blah. Fair enough. I mean, I haven't. I've not lied about any of it yet. I've got no need to lie to you. I always say my kids are the most important thing in the world to me. I swear on the lives of my children, I've never taken anything. I've been very open about the only thing I've ever taken was BPC 157 in tablet form, and that's a peptide, which is a natural protein. I think it's made in your stomach, and it's just for recovery, basically. And yeah, so my bloods are actually they're actually showing that I haven't even got the recommended testosterone that I should have. So it's quite exciting, really, because his words to me last night were, if people think that you've been using, you're about to become a fucking phenom when you do. So I'm quite excited to use now, just to really put people off, because people, if people are really under the impression that I've been using, which I completely understand, like I said, bear in mind, last week I put up a new 6-plate incline PR, but I've got bloods that were done on Friday that show that I haven't used. So how am I getting stronger on incline then? How am I getting stronger in all these areas, but I'm not using? Like I understand. I think the biggest, sorry, I know I'm really spewing here, but I think the biggest thing for people to see has been, and one of the biggest questions that people had was, okay, if you are natural, how did you progress at the rate that you progressed on flat bench press? Because I went from like 260, 265 to like 305 in the space of like 4.5, 5 months. Which, if you were going from a 105 to 145, is completely understandable. But to have it from 265 to 305, which at that weight and that strain on the body, it's highly unbelievable. And even I know that. I get it. But the biggest change for me was, one, the people I train with and the mindset difference. And then two, the equipment that I was using to train with. I don't think people realize just how important it is to actually bench on a comp bench with a power bar, as opposed to benching on a commercial bench that is thin with a shitty commercial bar that has whip that doesn't give you, and doesn't work into your, intricacies and into your strengths to help you bench press. Because I went from benching a commercial gym on dreadful bars with Techno Gym plates on a dreadful bench and getting a 2.7, 2.5 at a struggle, to then going to a comp bench in Dino's gym in Solihull on a power bar and benching 300 kilo first time of asking, no problem with speed.